Hello, friends, and welcome to Love Soul Connection, the podcast where you come every week to join us to talk about intimacy, sexuality, relationships, healing, and so much more. So, today I'm going to talk about energy healing. Energy healing and intimacy are deeply connected as both involve the flow of emotions and energy between two individuals. When the energy is blocked or say it is imbalanced, it can create distance and also disrupt intimacy in a relationship. Through energy healing practices such as Reiki or chakra balancing or maybe sound healing, emotional wounds can be released, restoring harmony and deepening the connection between partners. This healing allows for greater vulnerability, trust, and emotional closeness, creating a more intimate and fulfilling relationship. So, to add to that, today we have a special guest, Avani, who is an intuitive sound energy healer, a relationship and dating coach, sensuality expert, and way shower. That's what she calls it. Avni is the founder of the mastermind Soft Rich Woman, where she helps visionary women leaders to heal, tap into their feminine power, and manifest their deepest desires in love, purpose, and abundance. She also offers one to one coaching and runs a group membership called Love and Legacy, which empowers women to own their intuitive essence fully. So, without further ado, let's welcome her.
Hello.
Hey, Avni, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well, very well.
That was such a great introduction, just even about energy and how that works in intimacy. I was like, wow, that's great. I loved it.
So, welcome. You have such a unique combination of all these different expertise that you have. Could you start by telling us how you got into sound energy healing and how it intertwines with your work as a relationship and dating coach?
So, my journey really started with myself because I used to work in corporate. I'm very analytical. Like, one aspect of me is super analytical. And but like it didn't carry the day when it came to relationships. And I grew up in India, and I have had my share of my own healing that I've had to do, just because of so much conditioning, so much my own childhood trauma. I was like kicking ass when it came to when it came to work and business and money, but then when it came to relationships, it was like I was also very analytical. Like I had spreadsheets and everything. And this was, I think, around when I turned 30, when I was like, oh my God, like I want to have kids. Like, this is not something that's going to like go away, right? It was just one of those things that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And like, I'm gonna be a mother. Okay, like we got the clock ticking and all of that. And so around, like, right when I turned 30, I ended up like, I had been working with a pleasure coach like a year or two before, not realizing like, but I was really like, I got into the pleasure world because I was like, something's wrong with me. Like, I'm not getting turned on. I think I need to go to a gynecologist, which is literally what I was going to do the day before I went to this event. And they were like talking about pleasure, and they were talking about touching and all this sensation. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I don't need to go to a gynecologist and get a whole battery of tests done to figure out what's wrong with me. And so that was the world of pleasure. But then it was good. Like, it got me opened up, like really like getting out of the head into the body, all of that. But then my heart was still closed, right? So in 2016, no, a little bit before that, before I met my husband, I had hired a dating coach, and she like kind of really got my magnetism really going. But like even with her, it was healing like my wounding and my own sort of self-image about like who I was, and that shifted everything. But the kicker of all of it was because I was working in tandem with an energy healer, and this woman was a sound healer, and she worked with the crystal bowl. You know, I was in her healing session, and my back started to hurt, and she goes, "Yeah, well, back has everything to do with feeling supported." and and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is very cool." And so then from there, like I did private sessions with her, and she was like, "Yeah, like your heart is closed," and so we like opened the heart, and I did like a whole year or maybe longer too of like just going on retreats to Mount Shasta in California, and like just doing all kinds of healing work, and that changed everything. So like the combination of dating coaching, with pleasure coaching, with healing, before I knew it, I was like actually trained and certified. Like, and I bought a bowl, like intuitively bought a bowl. Like, I have no musical training per se. I didn't even realize that there was no formal ceremony or anything like that in 2020. And I started doing all these healings. And so what I started for clients and like groups, and it just like all started to like work. And when I started my work, I wasn't a healer. Like when I started my mastermind, I wasn't a healer. Then I started introducing it. I loved the idea. Like we did, my husband and I would do money healings. Oh, those are the best. Like literally, money has rolled in so so money healing. We did like, my husband and I both had a sensuality practice. You've probably heard about it or not. It's the stroking practice, the 15-minute stroking practice. And like we learned it from different places and kind of did it our own and like that. Oh yeah. And I started introducing healing into the work, and it just like changed everything because how it intertwines with my work is like you can do all the tips and tricks, right? But if from the inside you feel like you're not worthy of having a relationship, you feel like there's not enough for you out there, or you feel unsafe, which is like a huge wounding for me. And the same wounding might come up, the same trigger incidents might come up. Like for me, it was a lot of like physical abuse in my childhood that I have cleared over the years. And I don't even say it like that. I literally just I it was such a thing. Yeah, of course everybody gets hit, right? When they're a kid, and it's like yes and no or whatever.
No.
But there's an impact, right? There's a huge impact. And there was like, some of that abuse in my parents' relationships. I saw all of that, and it like and so I think I love and hate this part that it makes me a really good healer because I have experienced all of this myself and seen it. And I was so determined that we are going to I'm going to do something different. Like, this is not going to be my story. And so, like, I used to work in a corporate, like, six-figure, very successful job. And as I've been doing more and more healing and releasing the programming, so the wording I'll use a lot is programming, right? Because we've been programmed to believe certain limiting beliefs and thoughts and ideas that money only comes this way, relationships you have to suffer, you have to compromise, you have to do all this stuff. And it's like, no, you don't have to do anything. And or you could, right? But like then it becomes a choice, like, oh, women always take care of the home, or then it's never a choice, it's an oppression. It's like that. So we release those programming, and the more and more I had released my programming, I was like, no, like my purpose is to help women liberate on this level. Of how I got into it, it was through my own personal journey, really, and I intuitively was called to the bowls. And Yeah, it's really the bread and butter of the work I do with relationship coaching.
Hmm, interesting. You've been through quite a journey, I guess. And then,
Yeah.
when we experience it ourselves, that's when we are able to bring about that transformation, I think, more effectively. Because, we've gone through that pain, that trauma, and we understand what the other person is talking about. And that makes a whole lot of difference, I guess. Right. So, just for maybe some people who might be unfamiliar with sound energy healing, can you explain what it is and how it works?
So commonly, people have seen this, which is the frosted crystal bowl, and they tune to the different chakras. Okay, and I have what we call the alchemy crystal bowl. Okay, and they're a tad bit different. The sound is different, but the whole idea of these instruments is that we're all essentially vibration. And so it's about attuning to a different frequency within ourselves.
Hmm.
Okay. And so the higher the frequency, like the lighter we feel, the better we feel. Right. And so the idea of sound healing is to really just get us into what's called the theta state. Like theta state is a state that's like right before we go to sleep or right after we wake up, right? Where our subconscious is very permeable to different ideas and new ideas. Here, we are intentionally creating that state
Okay.
where, and then when you go into it's so fast, and that's the beauty of it. You don't need to be sleeping, right? I mean, you've probably heard of hypnosis. I hear hypnosis tapes when I go to sleep, and like right when you're about to go to sleep. But this is like literally the longest, honestly, longest sound healings are like 30 minutes, and if I really want to take it long, then it's like an hour. You don't need it to be that long because it's so fast. You will drop right into that state. And then from there, I connect with source energy. Okay. From source energy, it's like literally you're connecting straight to God. And this is something that has happened in the recent years where before there used to be this hierarchy, like the church and things like that, that was like supposed to connect you with God, right? And now we can connect directly. That's the beauty of this technology. You connect directly to source because that is innately what is available to each of us. Okay. Like we have the ability to connect straight to God. And so I'll command a few things and literally this is how you change. It's a you remove a program and then you put a new download. That's actually what happens. Like I will say those words as well. And in that subconscious mind, that shift happens. So that's how energy healing works. That's how theta healing works. Theta does not use the bowls, has a different way of dropping into meditation. That's why meditation is so powerful.
Okay. So, as a relationship and dating coach, which also you are, what are some of the biggest challenges that people face today in forming meaningful connections, according to you?
I think the number one thing is like safety, feeling safe in a relationship because and there's at the moment just so much going on around the world where we feel unsafe, like what is going to happen to my job, like what is going to happen to the world, like the Middle East, this, that, whatever, like you name it. There's so much unsafety, but that is all an attraction to the unsafety within ourselves. Each individual, we hold a level of unsafety. And that comes from even just the fact that we are human. Like we came into this world and it's like, what is this strange like place where I have a body and like I have like I'm not light, like which is essentially who I am, but I have to take care of all of this. And there's obviously advantages to being in the body. Pleasure is the number one thing. According to me, this is why we took a body to be in pleasure and to relax and to feel joy, the physical sensation, right? Because it's like we are able to do a lot of things without the body, right? Like you've probably heard of astral traveling. You can
Yeah.
bend time, energy, all. If that is all possible where you don't need a body, then what do you need a body for? Pleasure, like that. So that's why I like to say my work connects your crown with your wisdom, with your pussy or your sexual genitals, organs, like that, right? It's like you get the best of the both, all of them, right? But then, we've been cut off from all these parts of ourselves. We've been shamed for having sexual appetite. We've been shamed for having intuition that actually is like connection to the greatest wisdom, so we can on this planet create something different than what has already been created, right? Because otherwise, like, why are we here again, right? I ask this question, by the way, all the time for myself. But when clients come in, so safety is number one. This whole feeling, and that comes from a lot of trauma too, right? Trauma in this lifetime, trauma in previous lifetimes, which is where
Yeah.
healing super valuable, because we can clear some of this past life trauma. I had a client once who, I mean, this is my favorite story. She was in my 4-month mastermind, and she was tapping into pleasure, and that was amazing in like the first 1 or 2 months. Then her and I had a session where, for the she's a Black woman, and we cleared like trauma going back to like when her female ancestry was enslaved, and she was holding that in her body, in her soul. And we sometimes create these contracts, right? Or like we
Mhm.
pick up on programming of like, I can't trust men, I will be harmed if I put myself out there, which they were back many, many generations ago. We don't need to be carrying that. And I had honestly no expectation, no idea that this is what would show up.
Mm.
Okay. And we cleared it in that one session. But here's what happened, because she had come in, she never even mentioned dating. Like, I literally had no idea. And I didn't even think to ask her. But she was so clear, because she was like, well, I want to get into energy, but I want to really get more people coming into my business. And I was like, and her real estate business. So I was just like, oh, okay, great. Like, just focus on that and focus on the magnetism. And I had no idea that, she had all this trauma. She had no idea. I had no idea. And because I can intuitively and psychically tune in, that's what came up. That's what we cleared. And in 4 months, by the time we finished, she had attracted a man who was in, and out of nowhere, like she just like had a random phone call with somebody because she was as a part of her work, and then she met this guy, and I was like, wait, what? Like, was this even a goal for you, right? So the moral of the story is like, we don't know what is holding us back sometimes, and that's what was there. Like, I was very intentional. I was like, nope, my clock is ticking, I need to go. She had nothing, and she ended up with this man, right? And then, of course, on top of that, she's like, she's got all these business opportunities, and now she's like, oh my God, I have too many. Which one do I pick, right? So, like, and that's the other wound, okay? Scarcity. There's not enough to go around, right? Which is
Mm.
like, honestly, why we end up in wars. Like, oh, there's not enough, which is a lie. There is an abundance out there, right? But because we've been tuned into always only thinking about lack, that and scarcity, that's what shows up. And then the third one, so I talked about safety, that's number one thing. And that's emotional safety, spiritual safety, physical safety, financial safety, all of that, right? Like, will I be okay? Will this person take away all my money? Can I really trust them? Should we get a prenup? Like, all this stuff, right? Like, it makes no sense. Self-worth. Am I worthy? Can I have this? Is this for me? Like, I am bad. That whole programming of like, I am bad on some level. I am wrong. Like, something's wrong with me, right? When we clear that, and we go into why that is, right? Because you have to give permission for this. Like, I can't just go in and like clear everything for you, which would be cool. But, free will is a thing. And what all of this does is it basically blocks you from your natural frequency of love. That's our natural frequency, love. We can't feel love for ourselves, then we can't feel love for anybody else, right?
True.
And when you're like, oh, there's not enough to go around, then you can't be generous with somebody. You start becoming stingy with your partner. And you don't realize that that's what's going on in the back of your head, but it's like, well, is it fair? The whole question of is it fair? Like, who is fair? It actually kills polarity, and it really kills attraction and intimacy, because that means that it has to be equal, right? Fair is equal. And it's like, but men and women are not the same. They're equal as humans, but they're not the same. We're complementary. We're supposed to be different, you know? And so and we're supposed to be complementing each other, you know? And so it's like, well, can we play to each other's strengths versus becoming? And so that's where my work kind of usually leads people into a partnership. Can we create some real partnership, right? Versus the old, like, this is how it needs to be and this is life, and then like that.
So, you are also a sensuality expert, like you said. So, how would you define sensuality and why is it so important for both self care and intimate relationships?
But one of the things, it's like, I mean, there's like the obvious stuff, right? It increases the good hormones in your body. Like, you're just period. Like, there is a difference when I'm self-pleasuring, when I'm having sex with my husband, when my husband and I are doing our sensuality practice. Life is just so much better, right? Like, we're just not bound up. Like, if my son will do something and I'm like, yeah, okay, like, whatever, yeah, okay, I'm generous, I'm nice, I'm cool, like, it literally creates a body chemistry that's like,
Hmm.
good for everybody.
Hmm. That's nice. Right. So, why is it so important for intimate relationships?
Well, because without it, it's like you're friends, right? Like, you're just friends. And it's like, that's great. I have a lot of friends and that I share a lot of things with. But there is something, it's literally, if you literally see, it's what creates life.
Hmm.
Like, creativity, my creativity is the best when I am in my sexual flow, which is why I include it. It's like healing and embodiment, sexuality, sensual dance, like all these practices, orgasmic healing. I include all of them because otherwise it's like, well, how do you create anything new? So, ideas, business ventures, opportunities, like new things to think about, like new things to think about come through for me through sex, like good stuff.
Hmm.
And so, why is it important? I mean, it's a bond you get to create. It's an opportunity, really. Like, in a relationship, it's an opportunity because you get to experience all of it, right? Like, the literal purpose of life as a human in a body, you get to experience it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. That makes so much sense because you get to work on your bond and you might explore certain parts of both of you, which maybe you did not even know that existed. And then
Yeah.
you tend to grow so much more and do things which make your bond even stronger. And that can be beautiful, I think. Right.
Yeah.
Energy plays a huge role in relationships, right? We both agree to that. So, how can couples learn to balance their energies to create more harmony and connection with each other?
I think this is a great question because it's like we tend to focus on our partners when we have a fight. Oh, you're doing this. Oh, you're doing that. Oh, you're doing this. Oh, this is how you did it. And that's why I did this, right? So that is also a type of energy. Blame, guilting your partner. That's a type of energy. But it's the kind that's very restricted. You're not
Mm.
in the frequency of love. What helps you get into the frequency of love is really the self awareness that, hey, something's going on over here. It's always important to look inward, that self awareness, inward looking, to be like, why am I behaving this way? right? Like, why did I do that? Which is why I think coaching and sensuality coaching, it's like so important. Like when I'm doing sensuality coaching, it's like never really about like what's happening in the bedroom. It's always about what happens before you get there, right? Which is like, have you been upset? And really the frustration, anger, all that comes from within. Like I'm angry with myself. Now, if we peel another layer, you're actually wounded there, right? Like something, someone said something to you at some point in your life, and that's usually between the ages of 0 and 7, where this might have happened, where you now have a belief about yourself that is limiting in nature. Like, I'm not good enough. Like, I'm not safe. I'm not supported. And these are my main mantras to my son. He's 3, and I tell him, you matter, you're safe, you're important, you're loved, right? Like we didn't feel loved. That was the number one thing. So when we're not feeling that, we're usually projecting it outward to our partner. So the best thing you can do is look inwards. Look at what actually created that. And that's also where in my Soft Rich Woman, I also have women go through like breath work, feel it to heal it, like so you can feel the pain, which is not always comfortable. You've got to feel it to let it go, right? So we've got to release that pain on multiple levels: body, soul, emotion, mind, all of that. So that's the best way to connect. If you keep pointing fingers, that's the end of the relationship.
Yeah, that's so true. Right. Um, can you share any techniques or practices that couples can use to heal energy blocks that they might build between
Yeah.
themselves?
The thing that came through, like as soon as you said it, is listening. The number one thing is listening. Okay, and I want to talk a little bit about this because people think, oh, well, if I just shut up, like, first of all, shut up. If you're having a hard time, it's simple as shut your mouth, open your ears, and listen, right?
True.
Now, with listening, we try to respond. We're doing it to defend ourselves or solve a problem or something like that. And the best thing is to listen freely, like really just get in their world. Like if I were there, right? Like, if I was this person, how would I be feeling? Like just really, and when somebody feels like you've really listened to them, that complaint, problem, issue disappears. It's gone. Like it's magic. Um, Yeah, and then the other piece of that also is like it's not the easiest thing to do. Well, it's simple. I gave you the tool right here, right? But it's not easy because we have all this stuff going on in our head all the time. And my biggest blocker to really listening used to be like, well, what do you have to say? I already know.
Mm,
And it takes a little humility to be like, no, I actually don't know. Right. So it does take meditation is another practice that I recommend doing so that you can be present in the moment when someone is talking instead of like, oh well, but you said this last time and then you did this and then but this is all the ways you're wrong and I don't believe this. And if you're listening to this versus listening to what the person's actually saying, you actually have an opportunity to understand what is going on over there,
that's
right? Like, we get defensive. So it's like, but just get there, over there. Like this person is someone you care for. If you really want to show somebody you care, you listen to them. And sometimes it's literally just that, and you don't have anything to say, right?
true.
Sometimes there is. So that's my one practice. Go to, absolutely. If you have an issue with your partner, start listening. What are they saying? Now, also, it goes beyond words, facial expressions, like energy. And when I work with clients, they become intuitively attuned. You can actually read energy without anybody saying anything to you.
True.
Okay. And that's my specialty. That's where my psychic gifts got heightened because I started to read energy and it's like way more powerful than words, which is what makes me like a great coach and a great healer because I listen to your words and your energy says something completely different. Yeah, I want a relationship. I'm just giving you a very
Yeah.
exaggerated answer of that, right? But like, I'm open. I'm listening. Yeah, right. Okay. Right.
The body
And
language has said everything, I think. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. That makes so much of a difference. And that's something which I think I talk endlessly about. That listen, 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 listen. Don't just shut shop, and separate yourselves and just, stop communicating.
yeah,
Listen to what the other person is trying to say and stop listening to what is going on in your head. And that's
yeah.
exactly what makes such a huge difference, right?
And the other piece that just came through is if you're having a hard time listening, because it's not the easiest thing, you might need to be listened to first.
True.
So you might have a lot that wants to come through first, and because it's all there and you can't really be present, make sure you get the support
Yeah.
so that somebody actually listens to you so you can be there, which is why I'm such a proponent of couples getting their own support, because it's like, so you're not expecting your partner to become your therapist. You're not expecting your partner to become your, I don't know, teacher that you didn't have, your mother that you didn't have, or father who was always working. Like, you're not expecting all this stuff. Your partner can actually be the sexual playmate, the friend, the best friend, the co-creator, the idea machine. I don't know, whatever. This is, by the way, my life. Okay, I'm saying all this because that's my partner.
Yeah.
We bounce business ideas off of each other. We talk about, what's coming up when I'm trying to have another baby, like everything. We talk about stuff,
Yeah.
but he's not my therapist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
he's not my healer. But we don't need our partners to become everything that we never had.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
True. So, one question I'd like to ask you is that you spoke about sound healing, and
Mhm.
how can that specifically help to enhance intimacy between partners when we talk about sound healing?
Yeah. So first thing is like as soon as you said that, it's like it's relaxing. Relaxation is like, and so relaxation can happen in many ways. By the way, being on your phone and scrolling on your phone is not relaxing. Okay. Let's get that clear. Okay.
Definitely.
Relaxing is like a real let go. Now, there's many ways to get to that relaxation. That's like the number one thing with, um, so, okay, I'll give you an example. I went to a sound bath. They call them sound baths, which is a little different from sound healing. Okay.
Yeah.
My husband and I, we had date night, and there was one like right there. And I cannot tell you what an amazing experience it was to go to that sound bath and then go into a date night. Like, it just changed. My husband was so relaxed. He's like, yeah, let's whatever. We think alcohol actually relaxes us. It doesn't always. Actually, my whole transformation journey started because I got drunk and ended up in the jail for like 24 hours, right? Yes, yes. It was so shameful, right? But like that's what propelled my journey. And then sound healing, like I said, also like when we release limiting beliefs, that's the healing portion of the sound bowls. Okay. When we release these limiting beliefs of like I'll never get what I want, my feelings, my desires are not important. I need to sacrifice. I need to show up for other people. I need to always be there for other people. We don't say these things, by the way. They're all like running in the background, right? So when we release that, it's like, actually, you know what? I want to talk about what I'd like tonight in bed. Or I'd like to talk about what I'd like for us in the next 6 months. Right. And that level of connection, because sexual connection is honestly the last connection.
Mm.
Everything comes before that, right? So it's like if you are suppressed with your desires in your career, in your household, in the support that you need, you're also suppressed with sex
Yeah.
and vice versa. You could also jump into the deep end, start with sex, and then work your way through to the other side. That's also possible. Yeah, relaxation is the key for connection. Like How can you be connect? Like it's think about. Oh, and then the other part I was going to tell you just quickly. It's like the more relaxed you are, your longer are your orgasms. Like
Ah,
that's longer orgasms, and they stay in your body. The full body orgasm practice that I was telling you about, the 15-minute orgasm, it's literally all about relaxation.
true.
And so he's stroking my pussy, my clit, and sometimes it's I cry because I need that release that way. But then it's like some days it's this like mega full body, like you can feel it from the head to tip to your toes, and through the orgasmic healing practice, the 15-minute stroking practice. Like literally, this was March of 2021. I was pregnant, like 9 months pregnant, almost 8 months. And I had a vision that happened for me in that 15-minute orgasm practice. 3 weeks later, I had over $100,000 in my bank account. Like literally, these were shares that were plummeted. Like I forgot I had them. They were so underwater, out of nowhere, right? And I'm like, Doctor, didn't I? And I saw that image of money, like green money coming to me, right? So because the veil is so thin, you can actually get messages from the universe. And so
Hmm.
like this is, I mean, this is where I'm like, ooh, now let's start playing. See, when we start to open up to new possibilities, it's like, ooh, what's possible?
Do you want to share a specific example where you have helped a couple through your, it could be a dating expert or as a sensuality expert or through your energy healing? Just one specific example on the transformation that you were able to bring about for a couple.
I'm going to share a story actually about a client, a woman who worked with me for really only a month, and we did 3 sessions. But she had come to a couple of my healings before. So I want to say, like, in about 3 months, right? She went from not like I mean, there was a guy. She would have never even thought of him as somebody she would end up with or date or anything. Because she was like, well, he's not open and he's not into this stuff and he doesn't want a long-term relationship and he's gonna be traveling and he'll never so it can't be. We did 3 sessions, like private sessions, and before that we had done a couple group sessions, and literally, she started sending me, and she had never been in a longer term relationship, like whatever it was. She had always, but what we cleared for her was like anger towards men, just like this level of resentment that men had fooled her in the past. But she wouldn't even, and that was another thing I helped her connect with her guides, her spiritual team that was giving her all these answers that and that's the beauty of it. Like she didn't need anybody giving her any answers. She knew exactly what she needed to do because she got the answer from her spiritual team. When we cleared all this like anger, resentment, hatred, there was even like a level of racism that she had for other people of other races. We cleared that. And then she's like now sending me like 14-minute voice notes literally every week. I don't even have a container with her, and she's sending me all these. She's like, well, now he's coming over. He's canceled his trip. He's not going on his trip anymore. He came to get me, and I feel so special. And he's like doing my hair, and I just set up a bath, and I'm making a bath for him. And I was like, what happened? And this guy is like completely not what she thought. Like he has tattoos everywhere. And she's like, never, I could never date anybody like that, right? But she's in her softness so much that and detached from like what men need to do for her or what people need to do for her, free for herself of resentment and anger and just distrust and mistrust and all of that.
Yeah.
The guy's doing all this stuff for her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you open yourself up, then so much can happen, right? Because you keep yourself blocked, then your energies are also blocked. And then, I mean, you're not opening up your mind. And when you open up your mind, what kind of transformation can happen and what the
Yeah.
universe has in store for you, you never know, right?
Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
so just one last question. If you could leave our listeners with one key takeaway about the connection between energy, relationships, and self healing, then what would it be?
See, I think focus, like pay attention to yourself. Like you are worth that attention and investment, time, energy, money, if that's also needed. But like focus on the healing that needs to happen. Because if there's, this is how you know you want to go in for healing, okay? If you've been trying things, if you've had maybe you've seen a therapist, you have tried all the dating apps and you've been going on dates and you're out there, or you've been reading the books on how to communicate better, and you still can't put a finger on it, then it's likely energy. Okay. It's childhood trauma, or it's past life trauma, or ancestral, generational, or soul level trauma, right? And
Yeah.
you'll be guided. Like if you're watching this, you're guided to this. Like, let's connect, or, find more people who can help you and support you in this way. Because in the beginning, you said I'm a way shower. And the reason I say that is because people come to me when they're like stuck, like they've tried everything and they need to be shown a way. And that's what I did. That's what I've done for many of my clients, and they've done transformational work before, a lot of them. And a lot of them come to me when they're just like, oh my god, like you have been talking to me and let's do this. Like, but it's like if you're like you've done all the things that your logical mind can tell you. By the way, this also applies for any physical ailments, okay,
Yeah.
cancer or whatever. Like, then you want to go to an energy healer. You want to talk about this because it goes way beyond your body. It goes honestly to your soul. And
Mm,
so that's when you want to give yourself that level of attention.
right. So thanks, Avani. It's been wonderful to have you on the podcast. Where can our listeners connect with you or learn more about your work?
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I think Instagram is the easiest to find for some reason. Facebook also. I have a podcast. It's called Sex, Money, Rock and Roll with my husband. And maybe we can link one of the episodes here, the one about orgasmic healing, because I feel like everyone, after I talk about it, wants to hear more about it. I have a Facebook group as well. So we can also, I do free trainings in there.
So thank you so much, Avni, for taking out this time and doing this for us. I hope you had fun, and we shall maybe connect again and do this another time and talk on another subject. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So that was Avni, and she spoke a lot about energy healing and how when we open ourselves to relaxation, to calming ourselves down, and to actually the energies that are around us, then so much can happen in our relationships. Intimacy can be better, your orgasms can be better, the way you connect with each other can deepen, you can become the best of friends, you can have innovative discussions, and so much more happens when you just open yourself to the energies around you. We are nothing but energies, and that is the way the universe functions. So I hope you guys had fun listening to this podcast, and please feel free to share any questions that you might have. You can drop them in the comments, and Avni or me, we shall be happy to answer them. So I shall see you again on another podcast next week. Till then, take care of yourself, work on those energies, and don't forget to get intimate.